And, Donald Trump taking a different tone last night. You probably saw it as he agreed to endorse House Speaker Paul Ryan's re-election bid. Trump refusing to publicly support Ryan or Senator John McCain earlier this week, leading to pressure from GOP leaders. So some are wondering now if Trump is working toward party unity after a controversial few weeks for his campaign. Joining me now is Jessica Ehrlich, a Democratic strategist and former Democratic congressional candidate, and Justin Sayfie, the former advisor and spokesperson to former Florida Governor Jeb Bush. Thanks for being here today, guys. Well,
great to be here.
What a week. Okay, Justin, let's start with what we saw last night in Wisconsin. How much do you think it matters that Trump's endorsements are coming at this stage in the game? Many say it seemed a little insincere after all he has said about them in the past. What do you think?
Well, look, the important thing is that he has made the endorsements. That shuts down all the discussion about will he endorse, when will he endorse. It shuts down the discussion of this disunity, potential disunity between the GOP establishment and Donald Trump. Donald Trump did a smart thing by making those endorsements yesterday, because now, instead of there being discussion about disunity and fracturing between the Republicans, he can focus his fire on Hillary Clinton and tell the American people what he wants to do and not have the news be dominated by the story of whether or not he's going to endorse Paul Ryan and John McCain.
Jessica, it's felt like a big ping pong match, right? What's your take on Trump's turnaround this week, trying to right a ship after what many are calling a pretty tough week?
Yeah, I mean, I have a very different perspective on it. I think what Trump was doing was really, certainly with the other issues he had this week, which were many, those were issues that needed to be righted. But with the endorsements, I think it's him being Trump, asserting his authority and saying, look, what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. What he said about these endorsements was exactly what was said about him when Paul Ryan waited to endorse him, Ayotte, McCain, all of them. And he's really showing that he's the leader of this new GOP. It's not the same. Paul Ryan is not there. He's sort of flexing his muscles and showing everyone how it's going to be going forward. And, I think that's a little hard for some people, but I don't think it was a weakness on his part. I think it was him really sort of taking the reins in his own hands.
Yeah, but Justin, when you see the discord that has been going on with the Republican Party within, who's backing who, some of the choice words, let's just say, being used, politics, they say, is supposed to be a team sport. Do you think Trump will be able to embrace the idea long enough to make it to November?
I think he will. I think again, those endorsements that he made, especially after some of the things he had said about John McCain and Paul Ryan, to me shows that he realizes that winning an election and politics is the art of addition, not subtraction. And he is now, to me, based on what he did yesterday, I think he's more focused than he's ever been on actually winning the general election on November 8th, because he realizes he needs a unified party. And if that means he has to endorse some people that he said some not nice things about in the past, he was willing to do it. So I'm going to be watching going forward to see whether he continues his embrace of the GOP establishment, uses those words of unity to unify the party and focus the firepower on Hillary Clinton.
All right, Jessica, I want to talk about Hillary Clinton here for just a moment. She's doing better in most of the polls we've been seeing than Trump, but she also had that bump in the road yesterday when she called discrepancies in her answers about her email scandal a short-circuit moment. It certainly didn't help what had otherwise been a pretty good week for her. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's just one more in the series. We said a year and a half ago that we thought this email issue was going to continue and sort of dog her throughout the campaign. And it has. And, as long as it gets brought up, it's always going to be this gray area. But what's interesting is that voters, she's still leading in the polls. She's still ahead, even though people know all about this issue. Nothing new is coming out. We went through the whole thing with Comey. So it's sort of like, well, what's left to be said about it, except for, yes, she makes slip-ups when she talks about it. But she talks about it so often that it's bound to happen, and voters are not being affected by it. Those who don't believe that she's trustworthy don't believe she's trustworthy, but they don't necessarily vote on whether they think she's trustworthy.
Right. And, Justin, back to Trump for a second. There are numerous reports that he has been ignoring the pleas of his advisors to stay on point, move away from attacks on fellow Republicans, the Gold Star family, all of that. So at this point, who do you think he should be talking to? Who should be getting in his ear right now?
Well, the people that he should be getting in his ear, he should be talking to Republican leadership both in Washington and outside Washington. Reince Priebus, the chairman of the Republican National Committee, has invested a lot in getting ready for this election cycle. He should be talking to people at the party and also people like Paul Ryan and others in Washington, but also outside of Washington. Donald Trump's got his finger on the pulse of what's going on out in the rest of the country. So I think he needs to open up his group of advisors and listen to them. And then one point I just want to make on Hillary Clinton. 60% of the American people don't believe she's trustworthy. A lot of that is because of the fact that she can't get her story straight on the email controversy, and this is going to continue to dog her that she put America's security at risk by using that private email server. That issue is not going away.
All right, and Jessica, one last for you. If Trump does continue to embrace the GOP establishment, as we saw last night, and only time will tell, right, that redirection could be very bad news for Clinton.
Well, I think regardless, we're going to see Trump do that because he's saying he wants the GOP to be a big tent. But it's not run by Ryan. It's not run by Rents. It's run by Donald. And I think that's what this whole week we've seen him showing is that he's not the opposite of what Justin said. He is not going to change course and start listening to people. He's showing everybody he's the big dog. He's the guy in charge now. And the big tent has him at the top of the big top. And that's what Trump says he's going to do. That's why people like him. And there's a lot of calls out there. I mean, unbelievably to have, you know, what they called for Ryan. I mean, he's supposedly in the lead right now, but certainly he's looking at a very tough re-election bid when you go online, look at what people are saying and voters across the country. So they're ready to have him out as well.
All right, Jessica, Justin, all we know it's going to be interesting moving forward. Thanks for being here for your perspective.
Always.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Kelly?